Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. I'm quite excited about this episode. I didn't think it was ever going to happen, to be honest, but at last we've got some information. It was actually passed on to me by someone from the Netherlands that got it on Reddit, and it was passed on to me on Twitter. And I've examined it. I've actually even emailed it to an accountant friend of mine to look at. But in this episode, we are going to look at the income that Shan'ann Watts earned as part of her participation with Lavelle in multi-level marketing. And I must admit, the thing that I was most looking forward to in the Chris Watts criminal trial was the MLM aspect. I was really looking forward to people coming in and talking about the ingredients of these products, and people talking about the income, and people being cross-examined, and anyway, the whole MLM industry being laid bare. And so when the Watts case didn't make it to trial at all, that part above all, I was really disappointed. I mean, the whole criminal trial regarding Chris Watts was, as far as I was concerned, kind of not a slam dunk, but it was going to be fairly straightforward. But this aspect, I was really looking forward to it being placed under the spotlight. And so, very ironically, the fact that the case didn't go to trial meant that this multi-level marketing company has got huge publicity, and if anything has profited greatly from the sort of marketing and the publicity surrounding the Watts case. In other words, this company has literally benefited from the Watts family murders, from the large amount of public interest in the case. And what do you think about that? Do you think that that's a good thing? So if you are interested in the coverage of True Crime Rocket Science, I cover all sorts of high-profile cases: John Benet Ramsey, Madeleine McCann, obviously Chris Watts, Casey Anthony, just a lot of different cases, Oscar Pistorius, Letitia Stork. I've also written a lot of books on all of those cases. Anyway, if you're interested in the coverage of those cases, please subscribe to the channel, like, share, leave a comment, and let's get started. So we're going to go through the 2020 income disclosure statement for the company. So it's obviously not specifically Shan'ann Watts' finances, but through that we can kind of extrapolate kind of a general idea. Does that make sense? So this income disclosure statement came out this year, and let's just go through it. The company was launched in 2012, and the mission of the company is to help people live happier, healthier, and fuller lives. So just think about that. The point of this multi-level marketing company is to help people be happier. Do you think Shan'ann was a happier person? Do you think the Watts family were happier, bearing in mind that they were about to lose their home, they were about to downsize, and ultimately everything that happened? Healthier, just if you look at Nicole Atkinson, what has happened to her in the last 2 years? Obviously it's a very small sample, but what about other people? And I think some people do better than others in multi-level marketing, and in this episode we're going to hopefully put to rest sort of how many people tend to do well and how well Shan'ann did. I'm not going to go through that small print there. You can, it's not really small print, but it's just the things about sign-up fee and no purchase requirements. Customers can earn free product by referring two people to Thrive. So that is how I think there's an incentive, not just from the promoter's perspective, but also from Lavelle's perspective, is you get free product So you must keep promoting. You must just keep finding people to give things to. And from Shan'ann's own social media, you may recall her often sort of saying, hey guys, I've got free stuff to give away. Who wants something? And that's how they sort of get people hooked on it. Anyway, you can read through the fine print. It's interesting that they do say there, for most, around about 52%, it's simply about receiving a discount on Thrive to improve their own personal health and wellness. Okay, so now we go into the next section, and there's kind of a disclaimer here already where they say, in terms of commissions, brand promoters' business results vary significantly, and that is absolutely true. They do. And they also make the disclaimer saying no income is promised or guaranteed. Oh, okay. Then you go down a little bit further, and it refers to based on the first 6 months of 2020, the average annualized commissions earned by active brand promoters was $1,341. Now, I'm not sure what that is. Is that total? Is that per month? Is that for the whole period? And if I read that literally, it says for the first 6 months. I'm actually already quite confused here. Average annualized, does that mean taking the first 6 months of 2020? If you annualize that, is that the amount that is earned per year? 1,341. I don't know either whether you want to say it's for half a year or a full year. It's not a lot of money. Annualized commissions, $1,341. That's not a lot of money. That's not even that much money for 1 month. Anyway, if I'm mistaken in my assessment, let me know. I mean, if someone here is involved in multi-level marketing and there's some kind of error, please let us know. Anyway, what is quite interesting is that they've got to specify the difference between active promoters and those who aren't active, which suggests that there's a significant number of people who aren't active. Why? I mean, have you ever heard of someone giving a statement for, let's say, Coca-Cola and saying, well, this is regarding all the people who sold Coca-Cola, the active sellers, but we're not going to talk about those who aren't selling it. Why on earth would you even need to do that? And the answer is because there is obviously a significant amount of people who aren't active. And if you took then the total amount of people who are participating, I wonder what those figures would be. In other words, the total amount of people who sort of sign up. Anyway, they say active is defined as ordering at least one time during the time period. Included in this group is the 52% of brand promoters who simply purchased the product for personal use and did not sell. Anyway, so yeah, we go on to, this is the part that's quite interesting. Shan'ann was a 80K VIP ranked promoter at the time of her death, and of that amount, so the amount in 2020 that are active today is 0.2%. So if you look at the ranking, the total amount of Lavelle brand promoters that are just ordinary promoters, it's 94.7%. It's almost everybody. Then there's 3% that are at the 4K level, just over 1.5% at the 12K level, and then it drops precipitously. Virtually no one at the 40K level, even less at the 80K level, and 0.1% at the 200K level, which is another way of saying your chances of getting there are almost zero. Shan'ann was at the 80K level, which is quite impressive, and the annualized income at that level would be anywhere between I think around about $95,000, right? If you were at that level. Now we go a little bit further down, and it refers to, and this is where it gets really interesting, it refers to of the active brand promoters, the top 1% were paid $92,814 annually, right? And so when they talk about the top 1%, they're talking about people in the 200K level rank, 80K rank, so that if you add those two together, that's still only 0.3%. The 40K VIP rank, so that's 0.6%. And then probably even, so that's a total of 0.6%. And then probably a proportion of, not everyone in the 12K rank, but a proportion of them. And so of all of those, it says the top 1% were paid $92,814 monthly. Now you might think, wow, that's a lot of money. And if you look at the 80K lowest earners compared to the highest, it varies incredibly. It goes from $26,000 to $375,000. And if you're on the 200K level, then it's anywhere between $59,000, which is less than Chris Watts was earning in his job. That's if you're at the highest level, to 2.4 million. And so I'm sure you could look at that and say, oh, wow, I could maybe earn 2.4 million, or, oh, I could maybe earn $375,000. Anyway, bear in mind, it's only the top 1% that were paid these amounts, like $92,000, right? Still not a heck of a lot of money. And then, and the people that are in this top bracket, the absolute top bracket is only 0.1%, which is virtually like saying nobody. In the 80K bracket, 0.2%, that's very little. Shan'ann was one of them. And Shan'ann was a kind of an extraordinary multi-level marketer, just in terms of she kind of was constantly on social media, constantly monetizing every moment, right? Well, that's what it takes to earn something like $95,000. And now we're gonna, that's kind of the average amount. We're gonna look at the counter to these figures in a second. So what's quite interesting, and I spoke to my accountant friend about this, is I asked him, when they say the top 10% were paid $12,700 annually, does that include the top 1%? So in other words, the top 10% were paid $12,000. Is that including the 1%? And he said yes. It looks like that. It's not that the top 10% are from 2% to 10%. The top 10% is the top 10%. So if you include that top 1% in the top 10%, it's quite a low figure. The top 10%, only $12,714 annually. And then the big shocker here, the top 50% of active brand promoters earn only $2,683 annually, and that is including obviously the top 10% and the top 1%. It's the top 50%, right? And what is really interesting is they don't even bother to show the bottom 50%, the amount that is earned there. They don't even show it. Now, this is where we come to the flip side of the story, is what is very interesting in the statement is that they say the commission statistics below do not include voluntary expenses that may be incurred by brand promoters. Now, let me read that again and just sort of kind of praise that statement. The commission statistics below do not include expenses. That's another way you could put it. What are the expenses? What do you think these promoters spend money on in order to participate? And I like the way they say voluntary expenses, like, well, you wouldn't need to really spend any money. Oh, okay, so I guess it's not. So in other words, they're qualifying those expenses. They also say they may be incurred. Oh, you might spend some money in order to make these amounts. I don't know of any business where you don't have any expenses, to be quite honest, where you say, no, I'm not going to volunteer to have this expense. In any event, then they list them. And I think as someone who writes narrative and who writes script, I think it's very clever how this is written, is they say these voluntary expenses that you might incur, you might get it, but then again maybe not. And these could include, telephone costs. Oh, okay, that's not too bad. I don't mind spending some money on that. Also, internet costs. Oh, well, that's not too bad either. I can handle that. I've got the internet anyway. But there could also be travel costs. Wow, how must I pay for travel? Like, must I pay to go somewhere? Where must I go as part of my job? Am I going on some kind of business trip? And I think it would be interesting to know specifically what travel costs are those referring to. But in any event, you might say, oh, well, if I don't volunteer to go on those trips, or I don't spend a lot of money on my phone, I should be fine. Oh, hang on, there's one more thing. There's one more thing that it could include. It could include, I mean, maybe not, purchasing business materials. And I actually asked my accountant friend this specifically. I said, what do you think that purchasing business materials refers to? And he answered, well, it's not clear. Yeah, it's not clear. Can't they be clear about it? What is this purchasing business materials about? Well, wouldn't it be product? Wouldn't some of the expenses be some of the product that you are buying yourself? And then if you look at all those numbers, you'd actually need to, if this is correct, I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong that, of the business materials like branded caps and branded socks and branded whatnot. Or does it actually include product? You're buying product and you're reselling it. And if you take those costs and just imagine again the Watts basement that is almost filled floor to ceiling with containers containing we don't know what, but what else could it be? And I mean, that is something that is echoed in the series How to Become a God, or On Becoming a God in Central Florida. You also see the backyard just of this woman's home just piled high with unsold product in order to stay in a certain level, right? And so you need to subtract those expenses, which are quite significant, from these income statements, these income allotments. And so we already have very meager numbers of promoters that are doing really, really well. So 0.1% in the 200K area. And let's just come back to this thing. The lowest earners, even in the 200K bracket, could be earning as low as $59,000, well, minus the amount of product that they've been buying. Right? So I'm not going to take it further than that. There are some other things to look at, like the average months to reach a particular rank. And if you look at most of them, it's around about a year. And the fallout rate in MLMs is, I've also heard something like that as well. 6 months to a year has a nearly 100% fallout rate. I don't know if it applies to this particular multi-level marketing company, but it applies to many of them. Something else just to look at in the thing dealing with bonuses and so on, it talks about an auto bonus and says brand promoters have the opportunity to qualify for an auto bonus with Lavelle. The auto bonus must be earned every month in order to receive the payment for that month. Let me say that again. You've got to earn that bonus every month. You don't just get the auto bonus and it's carved in stone for the rest of, like, in perpetuity. You've got to earn it every single month, and as soon as you fall below your target, then you might not receive that payment, and then you've got to make the payment on the car. So that's also quite interesting. So I'm not going to go through the rest of it, but I think this does shed some light on the status of the earnings for Lavelle employees. So I hope you found it interesting and illuminating. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.